It is well documented that Big Rig's over-the-road racing is one of the worst racing games to have ever graced store shelves. It frequently tops the worst games of all time lists here on YouTube. But I may have found something that comes in a very close second place. At least the game I'm about to show you has AI that works. But that depends on how you define AI and works. This is Semicolon Gaming, and today we're taking a look at Speedy Zone. Developed by Digital Point Incorporated in the late 90s and published by Siberian Multimedia, this is Digital Point's only released game according to mobygames.com. This is the only image resembling box art that I can find, and dates surrounding this game vary wildly. The game files are from 1997, but according to Moby Games it was released in 1999. And from what I've played of this game, I highly doubt 2 years was spent polishing this turd. Let's fire up the game. Past the splash screen and the blaring music, and we're into the main menu, and what a main menu it is! The first thing you'll notice off the bat is the fact that the menu is both too much and too little. There may only be 3 menu options, but what it lacks for in menu choices, it certainly makes up for with that background. So the options, starting with controls, and it defaults to keyboard. A sensible choice. The other options available are mouse, formula, and joystick. Formula being a steering wheel setup, joystick being joystick, and a mouse option for those with no self-respect. I'll leave it as the default keyboard option. The next option is mute, which presumably turns off this racket, but I want the full experience, so we'll leave that as is. What about audio? What treasures does that reveal? Background, engine, hit and skid, car pass, title, and MISC. I mean, I can guess what most of those are, but MISC? It could be anything. On to players, and this game offers the option of single player and, unbelievably, network play. I will only be testing the game in single player, as I have no friends, and if I had any, they definitely wouldn't want to play this game. There's an option for day or night here. Great. Ranking for scores. Show off to the friends that you don't have the scores that you've achieved while enduring this game. Skill level, ranging from 1 to 10. I'll leave it on the default 3 for now. And graphics. High or low, what more could you possibly want? I think before we go into the gameplay, we need to take a moment to appreciate the menu some more. As I'm sure some of you have spotted the Porsche-shaped elephant in the room. And yes, the frame rate is all over the shop. And yes, whenever that Porsche is being rendered on the screen, it causes the frame rate to plummet. Let's see some gameplay, shall we? 3 levels to select: beginner, advanced, and expert. We'll start with beginner for now. And now the exciting car selection screen, 8 cars to choose from. And what's that? Car models are trademarks of their makers. They don't have the rights to the cars, what a surprise. So, the car options. Porsche, with a max speed of 200 on the nondescript unit of measurement scale. A Volvo, which suspiciously looks like the rest of the cars. A BMW, and yes, it has a BMW badge on the bonnet. Benz, a Mercedes-Benz, a very plain-looking red Lexus, a Honda, no, it's a Legend, sure, it's a Legend, a Cadillac, or a Ford, or whatever. This Corvette, the least copyright infringing of them all. And into the race. And we're back to the slow frame rates as we pull off the line, trying to dodge our... Yeah, right. Finally, we're in the lead, and take a look, the frame rates have shot up. The first thing to notice is not the racing, but the beautiful music that accompanies you while you race. Yes, this is the Mission Impossible theme. In fact, it's Axel Force, Mission Impossible, brackets, the DJ Bruno edit, or at least a loop from it, which was released in 1996, which kind of makes sense if this game was developed in 1997. But again, much like the cars, I highly doubt they got the license to use the music in this game. You may also notice how distorted the music is, and the music files are incredibly small. The music loop is only 820 kilobytes in size for this piece of music, and looking at it in Audacity shows why it sounds so terrible. The song has been recorded at such a loud level that it peaks, and that low bitrate further hinders its quality. Which is probably a good thing, as hopefully YouTube's content match won't have a clue what the cacophony of noise actually is. The second thing you'll notice is how slow this game feels. And no, I'm not talking about the frame rate. I'm doing over 100 miles per hour, but I still feel like I'm moving at the same pace that I would through a fast food drive-thru. My slow speed is not helped by my 32% damage to my car, and yes, this game has a damage model. A very simplistic one, but it's there. The more you damage the car, the slower it goes. To rectify this, you need to visit the pit lane on any one of your laps. And once again, the beautiful high quality audio really makes it feel like your car is being cared for by the most skilled of mechanics. The racing in this game is simple. There are no checkpoints, no power-ups, no hidden routes, although it might look like it from the minimap, but I can assure you I am on track. Or at least I hope I am. Complete all the laps and get a podium finish and you win, with your chance to put your name on the leaderboard and make all your friends jealous. The beginner circuit has 10 laps, with the advanced and expert having 5 and 3 respectively. And yes, 10 out of 10 laps does not quite fit on the user interface for this game. In fact, a fair few elements don't. They look like they've just been sandblasted onto the screen in a very haphazardly fashion. But we will talk a bit more about why this might be in just a few minutes. The other 2 tracks available in this game are about as boring as the beginner circuit, with advanced being in a city, and expert also being in a city, but with a canyon. And sure, you have beautiful day tracks, but what if you want more variety? Well, you're in luck. You can head back into the menu and set the game to night mode, in which the stages are slightly darker in contrast, the skybox looks to be darkened too, and for some weird reason a pulsating light follows your car, like you're being followed by a mysterious silent helicopter with its spotlight trained on you. I mean, I think it's silent, I certainly can't hear it over this dreadful racket. It seems so far that the races are very one-sided, with me easily outpacing the competition. So, heading back to the menu again, let's ramp that baby all the way up to 10, and pick a trusty, mid-range car from the selection. And we're well and truly being dominated, look at that. I think the only way to win at the top difficulty setting is to use the Porsche, but that does mean we'd have to put up with that abysmal frame rate. What is with that car? And why is the Porsche the only car with a model? Did they make that one and then they just couldn't be bothered to do the rest? Did that one lag the game so much that they went with the rest being just as simple as geometrically possible to keep the game somewhat playable? These days, no game worth a dime comes without modding ability, which is why this game has no mods at all. But this didn't stop me from messing around with the game files. Let's make it a bit more playable, shall we? Yes, let's set all the levels to be 1 lap each, much more endurable. And the cars, let's set the supersonic Porsche to 10 on the scale of indeterminate measurement. And let's set the trusty Corvette to 800. So, back in game, and oh, the Corvette is only 200 out of 200. That must be the maximum. But the Porsche is now super slow, so let's give it a spin. And yep, that's slow. Let's try the Corvette just in case. And yeah, this is just standard speed, I'm not going any faster. So, the whole point of this video was to find out if Speedy Zone is worse than big rigs over the road racing, or if it can certainly come a worthy second place. Let's go through the facts. You can't go off-road in this game, which you can in big rigs. That is, unless of course you glitch it like I did here, which is very hard to replicate without crashing and somehow spinning out of bounds, so that's a point to big rigs. Secondly, a feature of big rigs was the super fast reverse mode, but does Speedy Zone have that groundbreaking and game-breaking feature? Well, yes. Sort of. You certainly can go faster backwards than you do forwards, but those pesky invisible walls keeping you on track really stop you from getting to those top reverse speeds. Another point to big rigs. Speedy Zone has working AI, which big rigs certainly doesn't. Well, at least in some versions. The AI on offer here is, it's just other cars going round a track. No tactics, no awareness of surroundings. Just round and around. So not much of an improvement over big rigs. But I think it's a point to big rigs again. I feel at this point we should probably consider the readme file the game comes with, and compare what it claims to offer with what it actually offers. But before we get to the list of features, let's just enjoy a few lines from the introduction.
Welcome to Speedy Zone, the paradise for speed drivers. Fasten seatbelt and get ready to race. Hold your breath when the game countdown begins. Hear the engine sound mixing with stereo background music.
It doesn't technically say it's going to sound good. It certainly is mixed.
Watch the dust and smoke burst from the tailpipe.
Why is there dust and smoke coming from the exhaust? Has the car been stored in a barn for 30 years? What? Right. The list of features this game has to offer, supposedly.
Advanced 3D/VR technologies for superior screen image quality.
It is 3D, I'll give it that, but VR? Playing this in VR would probably make you want to stab your eyes out with a fork.
Supports DirectX, MMX, AGP industry standard and 3DFX graphic accelerator.
I am playing this with DirectX and it works, if what we've seen so far can be described as working.
Supports modem, LAN, serial line connections.
The menu certainly seems to offer multiplayer mode, so I'm going to assume that it works in some capacity.
Features wide area network competition, damage, accident, multiplayers, strategic planning.
Yes, probably to the first, and yes to the second, if by damage you mean a rating out of 100% and by accident you mean me buying this game in a multi-racer CD pack back in the year 2000 or so. Yes. Multiplayers? Yes, but that's just the same as the first point again. Strategic planning? What strategic planning can a game like this possibly have?
Supports driver wheel, keyboard, joystick, mouse control devices.
Yeah, it seems to be the case from the menus, I can't argue that one.
Building 8 cars, 3 racing sites, 4 different views, 10 skill levels for your selection.
Let's be realistic, there are 2 built-in cars, one with the custom model, the Porsche, and the other 7 are just reskins, but sure, 8 built-in cars. Yeah, 3 racing sites, all of them completely naff, but there are 3. 4 different views, now I didn't even realise this, but yes, hitting F5 we certainly get 4 different views. All of them retina burning awful.
Name your car and configure its performance. Drive your own car to race.
What? That's not a thing. I changed the performance in a text file, but I'm pretty sure that's not how the readme expects you to do it, surely not. There is certainly no way to name your car to something less copyright infringing, sadly. But that certainly doesn't mean that feature never existed. There are at least 3 versions of this game released at different times. pboard.fortunecity.ws has a list of versions, which features the oldest demo the old demo, and the new demo, and I have no idea which version I have, and unfortunately all the links on this webpage have suffered from link rot. But the screenshot on the site shows a very similar looking game, with a few subtle differences such as the Comic Sans font on the HUD and a red outline on the minimap rather than the yellow one on the version that I own. There is also one video on YouTube from Kepu94, which I've definitely mispronounced, which could be the new demo. It seems to have a bit more polish. It actually has a speedometer, more graphical enhancements such as the winner screen, better menu graphics, better car models and graphics, although they look like they may have been stolen from the Toka touring car games, and a new announcer voice to start the race, although I'm pretty sure that comes from the game Insane. This version also features the Honda, which is now called the Accord, and there is now a Renault instead of the Lexus. This version also features rain. Exciting stuff. So, is Speedy Zone worse than Big Rigs? Well, Speedy Zone has AI that offers some competition. The game doesn't crash from what I can see, whereas Big Rigs had missing levels which caused it to crash. So no, Speedy Zone is not as bad as Big Rigs over the road racing, but I sure don't want to play this game again anytime soon. You're probably wondering where you can get your hands on this hot racing action. From searching the web, I can still find a couple of examples of it being bundled with other software on less than legal looking compilation CDs that have been uploaded to archive.org. CDs such as Bits and Bytes Volume 7 Disc 2. You can find it there as Speedy Zone 2. That might just be the new demo. It also appears on Volume 6 of Bits and Bytes on CD4, but that's only Speedy Zone 1, and that's presumably the version I reviewed here. And ooh, Evel Knievel. That was another game I purchased as part of the racing CD pack that contained the Speedy Zone version that I have. I lost that disc that had Evel Knievel on it many years ago, so I might just need to download this compilation and review that game in future, as it's also pretty naff from what I can remember. But that's all for this episode of Semicolon Gaming. I certainly hope you've enjoyed looking at Speedy Zone. If you've liked the video, give the video a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more reviews of old and forgotten terrible games.